and dignity. Let's take a moment to greet each other in worthy recognition. Good morning. And welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Transylvania County. We're so happy you are here with us today in this warm, loving congregation where everyone is welcome. If you're visiting with us today, please join us for our coffee hour right after the service. I'm Janice Cannon, your worship associate for today. I have a few announcements. Wonderful Wednesday is this Wednesday. RSVP for dinner at 5:30 and a presentation, Living in the Shadow of ICE, Local Realities for Immigrant Families at 6:30 after the dinner. This will be presented by two leaders in the Hispanic community, Jessica Rosales Miranda and Dee Redwine, who will share information and answer questions. Adulting 101 Life Skills Teen Camp will be held July 13th through 17th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. here at UUTC. If you would like to register or get more information, contact Kevin at uutc.org for more information. It's a reminder that the social justice team needs assistance with the Bread of Life food drive through July, so please bring non-perishable foods to the collection bin that's in the foyer. A big thank you to the more than 75 of you who have completed the Congregational Campus Vision Survey. Before we wind it down, we wanted to make sure everyone has a chance to make their voice heard. It's not too late to respond to this survey. RK has made printed copies of the survey available on the counter in the foyer. Please feel free to take one, complete it, and turn it in to the office. If you're watching online and would like one mailed to you, please call the church office and they'll send you one. We'll be sharing the results with everyone soon. Thanks again for your participation with that. I'm so pleased to introduce Dan Carter, who apparently all of you already know. But it's my first time meeting him in person. He's a retired American historian who spent most of his career at Emory University, but he has also taught at a number of other institutions, including the University of Maryland, the University of Wisconsin, London's Westminster University, Cambridge University, the University of Genoa, Richmond University, and for the last 7 years before retirement, the University of South Carolina. He's the author of 5 books and winner of 8 literary and academic awards, including the Bancroft Prize and the Robert F. Kennedy Prize. He has contributed to more than 20 historical documentary films, receiving an Emmy in 2001 for his work on PBS's 2-part documentary on the life of Alabama Governor George Wallace. His research and teaching has focused upon the intersection between national and Southern history and the role of race in American society and law, testifying as an expert witness in 3 major civil rights cases. He and his wife Jane moved to Brevard part-time in 1991 and full-time in 2008. Both were involved in the early history of UUTC and have been active in other community activities. Welcome. And now we will let Karen and Scott lead us into worship with our prelude.
One, two, three.
Thank you, Karen and Scott. Our chalice lighting for a service on the separation of church and state by Tracy Bleakney. This chalice burns with twin flames. The first flame burns for those who seek and defend the right to a free and responsible search for truth and meaning, so that each person may live according to conscience in a democratically elected society. The second flame burns for the defenders of freedom, working against those who would impose their own religious beliefs on others through intimidation or legislation. May we tend this fire always, ever vigilant and courageous in the struggle for freedom and justice for all. This is our time to recognize our members with joys or sorrows or other concerns. We have a joy for Karen and Scott. And the social justice team for making the 4th of July celebration for the Haven. They had a party yesterday. Yes, thank you guys. The social action team has a concern, sorrow. The Bread of Life has again doubled the number of daily meals served with over 300 meals a day. Normal and 1 day, normal and 1 day, 455. We have gratitude from Loie that the resistance continues getting stronger on our 250th anniversary as a nation. And we will light one more candle today for those joys and sorrows left unspoken. Spirit of life, come unto me, sing my heart the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea.
Our opening words. Can you hear me? Few will have, is it on here? Sorry there, that's, I got, should be. There we go. There we go. Few will have the greatness to bend history itself, but each of us can work to change a small portion of events. It is from numberless diverse acts of courage and belief that human history is shaped. Each time we stand up for an ideal or act to improve the lot of others or strike out against injustice, we send forth a tiny ripple of hope. And crossing each other from a million different centers of energy and daring, those ripples build a current which can sweep down the mightiest walls of oppression and resistance.
Our opening hymn is number 347, Gather the Spirit. Please stand as you are able. time to give generously to support our congregation and our community. The charitable giving this month is to the Dignity Project, and Joanna Bliss will come and speak with us about their important work.
Good morning. I'm Joanna Bliss, and I coordinate UUTC's own Dignity Project. Facing the world with dignity means being able to feel confident about how you present yourself. Think about what that might look like for you if you were applying for a job or housing or taking your child to school. You would want to be bathed, maybe shaved, with clean hair and teeth. You would want your baby or toddler to be wearing a clean diaper. Now imagine that you are one of the many people in this county who live in poverty. What would you have to give up in order to have the products that would allow you to face the world with dignity? The UUTC Dignity Project was envisioned as a way to affirm the worth and dignity of others by assisting with personal hygiene items for adults and children. It is a tangible manifestation of our first principle. We provide diapers and wipes to the Children's Center, El Centro, The Haven, and SAFE. Bread of Life, Rise and Shine, and SAFE ask for razors and shaving cream, deodorant, soap, shampoo, toothpaste, toothbrushes, and nail clippers. Sharing House often requests all the shampoo we can provide. These items are not eligible for purchase through the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, otherwise known as SNAP. Yet they are items needed every day, and their purchase means giving up something else at a time when eligibility for items SNAP does provide has become more difficult. Once again, people in the most need have been cruelly targeted. Our partner organizations let me know what they would like each month, and within the monthly budget for the program, I distribute these products to the organizations to pass on to our neighbors in need. In the past year, Bread of Life has asked for extra items for guests whose needs are wider than the above. This year, we have been able to provide items such as hand warmers, tents, and tarps because of a significant donation to this program. The Dignity Project is funded by an annual congregation-wide collection, plus a few individual monthly contributions. July is the month for that collection, which will be needed more than ever. Please use the envelopes in the collection basket to donate to this UUT's very own community outreach project. And if you would like to make an ongoing monthly contribution, please contact the office about setting that up. Looking back, I was surprised to realize I have been the coordinator for this project for 8 or 9 years. It is a task which suited me, as it is a one-person job, without committees or meetings, and can be accomplished. Yeah, you get it. And can be accomplished around other obligations. It is time to pass the baton on to someone else. I will serve this year and have written detailed procedures, and of course would work with the person who will take over this opportunity to serve UUTC and the wider community. Give some thought to whether that person could be you, and let's talk.
Ushers, please come forward.
Family, or that's who you will know it from. So if you know it, please do sing along. There's a dark and a troubled side of life. There's a bright and a sunny side too. Though we meet with the darkness and strife, the sunny side we also may view. Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. It will help us every day. It will brighten all the way if we keep on the sunny side of life. Oh, the storm and his fury broke today, crushing hopes that we cherish so dear. And the storms in time pass away, the sun again will shine bright and clear. Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. It will help us every day. It will brighten all the way if we keep on the sunny side of life. Sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. It will help us every day. It will brighten all the way if we keep on the sunny side of life. Let us keep on the sunny side of life. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Karen and Scott. Thanks, Lily. Thanks, Bruce. What is given in love, we receive with great joy. Thank you. We're going to do a little meditation today. It's a meditation on hope and love in a time of struggle by Alice Anacheka Naisman. In a world so filled with brokenness and sorrow, it would be easy to lose ourselves in never-ending grief, to be choked by our outrage, to be paralyzed by the enormity of suffering, to feel our hearts squeezed tight with hopelessness. Instead, this morning, let's simply breathe together as we hold our hearts open. Breathing in as our hearts fill with compassion, breathing out as we pray for healing in our world and in our lives. Breathing in, opening ourselves to the transforming power of love, breathing out as we pray for peace in our world and in our lives. Breathing in as we hold hope in our hearts, breathing out as we pray for justice in our world and in our lives. May we know our strength. May we be filled with courage. May our love flow from us into the world. Breathing in, we are the prayer. Breathing out, we are the healing. Breathing in, we are the love. Breathing out, we are the peace. Breathing in, we are the hope. Breathing out, we are the justice. May we know our strength. May we be filled with courage. May our love flow from us into this world. Amen. Blessed be. May it ever be so.
when we choose our songs, it is usually for thinking about what we can share and what we can help build in the community. And we just happened to go right along with your meditation this time. We got lucky there. But this is a song by Daisy Mae Elrin, and it's a fairly new song, and it's a song about hope and togetherness, and we hope that it gives you some meaning. Knocked me off of my feet, but I think it's time for me to start walking again. Stop running away from things. Next time you see me, I will be singing a new song, 'cause I am learning to shine on, shine on, shine on. There'll be time enough for darkness when everything's gone. Shine on, shine on. There is work to be done in the dark before dawn. It's hard not to give in, and it ain't easy living in hard times. I know it's weighing on your mind. Next time you see me, I'll be uplifting. Yes, I will give you hope, 'cause we are learning to go and shine on, shine on, shine on. There is time enough for darkness when everything's gone. Shine on, shine on. There is work to be done in the dark before dawn. I know how dark it seems, feeling it coming up inside of me, and I feel it in you too. Next time you see me, we'll both be laughing, oh, just to be alive. We are learning to go as we shine on, shine on, shine on. There is time enough for darkness when everything's gone. Shine on, shine on. There is work to be done in the dark before dawn. There is work to be done in the dark before dawn. There is work to be done, so you've got to shine on.
And now, Dan Carter.
Thank you very much for inviting me here and seeing many old friends, and I hope meeting new ones. I have only one disappointment this morning. I donned a coat and tie, which I normally reserve for funerals, in honor of Reverend Bob, so that I wouldn't embarrass him. As all of you know, he dresses appropriately here, and now he's not even here for me to see if I can get this going here. No. You're going to see all the everything before it's. We didn't rehearse this part, as you can see there. Okay, there we go. As I looked over the order of service when Janet sent it to me and saw my remarks listed as a sermon, I confess I winced a bit. My remarks don't reflect a traditional sermon, a traditional religious format, and I also recalled the sarcastic definition of a sermon, which are long-winded remarks that explain what your listeners already knew in the first place. The remarks of Oscar Wilde, the Irish poet, playwright, and lecturer, during his 1882 lecture across the United States, much of it in the Wild West, he was struck by a sign in a Leadville, Colorado saloon that read, "Please don't shoot the piano player. He's doing the best he can." Still, I hope the question I raise, was the United States founded as a Christian nation? Should it be a Christian nation? Is appropriate as a spiritual as well as a political question. Certainly as we mark the 250th anniversary of the founding of our nation. Although the number of Americans who identify as non-religious has grown since the 1970s, Americans remain a religious people, overwhelmingly Christian and considerably more religious than any other comparable Western democracy. What surprised me when I began thinking about this and looking more closely at it was that Pew Research polls show that 60% of Americans believe that the founders deliberately created a Christian nation, and nearly half believe it should remain so. Come on now, come on. Come on, help me here, Doug. There we go. This is some of you may have seen this. It's a very common figure that's used by pro-Christian nationalists. George Washington certainly believed in the importance of moral values and religion, but he never made the statement. And as my friend Joe Ellis, who wrote a biography of him, said, the fastidious Washington would never have knelt in muddy snow to mess up his uniform. So, what can we say about the religious ideas and beliefs of the Founding Fathers? We have to begin with an obvious observation. They varied. They were overwhelmingly Christian, although as today, that description is only a starting point. We have to, as I said, Thomas Jefferson saw the Rabbi of Galilee, as he called him, as a moral philosopher and a reformer whose ethical teachings were, as he said, the most sublime and benevolent code of morals which has ever been offered to man. But he did not see Jesus as a divine being. As he wrote to a friend, question with boldness even the existence of a God, because if there be one, he must approve of the homage of reason rather than that of blindfolded fear. Like Jefferson, several other key figures were explicitly deists who believed in a clockmaker God who set the universe in motion and then stepped back from intervention in human affairs. Still, the majority of the signers of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution were generally traditional in their religious beliefs, whether they were Anglican, Episcopalian, Congregationalists, Presbyterians, Lutherans, Quakers, Catholics, even one Baptist. But however orthodox in their theology, they were deeply influenced directly and indirectly by such Enlightenment figures as John Locke. Most of all, though, they were conscious of the bloody history of religious wars and conflicts that had marked European and English history and had marred and had created conflict even in the colonies. In the initial draft of the First Amendment to the Constitution, James Madison insisted that the strict separation between church and state be applied to the states as well as to the new national government. But several fellow delegates, notably George Washington and Benjamin Franklin, warned him and reminded him that 9 of the 13 states had church-state ties, and to include that restriction would jeopardize the ratification of the Constitution. Reluctantly, Madison withdrew that and simply wrote, "Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of freedom." Congress should make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Despite this concession to political reality, it is clear that the delegates certainly had no thoughts of creating a Christian commonwealth. There are no references to Christianity. The authors refer only to God in the vaguest, even deist terms, the laws of nature and of nature's God, creator, divine providence. And Article 6 of the Constitution explicitly prohibited religious tests for federal office, even at a time when many states barred Catholics and Jews from holding such positions. In a new nation with so many different varying faiths, even though they were Christian faiths for the most part, the framers of the Constitution believed that separating state and church was a prudent way to prevent conflict, to protect individuals from religious discrimination, and to prevent special favors for any religious group. But the great religious awakening of the early 1800s transformed the religious and political landscape. By 1840, church membership had more than doubled, driven by the growth of evangelical denominations, notably Methodist and Baptist. And with the growing dominance of more pietistic evangelists, state and local governments enacted new laws and restrictions to regulate and prescribe what they considered to be Christian morality and behavior, required school Bible reading and prayer, Sunday blue laws, prohibition, jail time, and fines for blasphemy or lewd and lascivious behavior, the designation of Christian Christmas and Good Friday as legal holidays, and all were upheld by state and federal courts. One of my favorite, that's not exactly the right word, more interesting cases involved a Massachusetts Jewish writer in a newspaper who said that while he deeply respected the teachings of Jesus, he was not the Messiah. He was fined for blasphemy and paid a substantial fine for this. Thomas Jefferson and his friend John Adams, as many of you I'm sure are aware, died on July 4th, 1826, 50 years to the day of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. You can imagine what religious people did with this. God had brought them home on the 50th anniversary. But only months before Jefferson's death, he learned that a masked mob of rioting students, led by his great-nephew, had rampaged through his beloved University of Virginia campus and thrown a bottle of urine through the classroom window of a moral philosophy professor, shouting, "Down with European ideas." As one professor of history who often lectured on the Enlightenment, came out of his room when he heard the ruckus. Students beat him bloody with his own cane. The next day, Jefferson insisted that the student body be convened, and he came to speak to express his horror. But as he began to speak, this man who was always stoic in public life was so overcome with emotion that he burst into tears and sat down and could not continue. The time of the Founding Fathers had passed. Okay, and now a little boring but necessary constitutional history. As America became a more religiously pluralistic and secular society in the 20th century, Supreme Court decisions reflected that transformation. In 1947, the court ruled in Everson versus Board of Education of Ewing, New Jersey. This is a critical decision, that the 14th Amendment's due process, which had been passed during Reconstruction, that due process clause applied the Federal Bill of Rights to states and local governments as well as the national government. So what Madison had hoped, which was that separation of church and state would be applied to state and local governments, now comes about because of the passage of the 14th Amendment and the court's decision there. Writing for the court, Justice Black of Alabama was specifically and various, at least on two different occasions, emphatic in insisting that no government funds should be transferred from the government taxpayers to private or religious schools. And of course, there was the famous 1962 decision, Engel versus Vitale. With only one dissent, the Supreme Court ruled that the First Amendment prohibited state or local officials from composing, encouraging, or even allowing sponsored school prayer in the public schools. The backlash, as some of you are old enough to remember, that greeted that school prayer decision was second probably only to Roe versus Wade. What had seemed settled law by the 1990s, however, once again shifted as an increasingly conservative Supreme Court majority, case by case by case, eroded the principle of separation of church and state. Most critically, by abandoning these once strict limits on financial assistance to churches, religious organizations, and religious schools. In 2002, Justice William Rehnquist, who was appointed by President Reagan, wrote a 5-4 decision approving Ohio's newly enacted voucher program, which gave, as you know, vouchers to families to send their children to private schools. It was, of course, indirectly funding these private schools, 80% of which were religious schools. And yet, the Rehnquist court ruled that this was not an infringement of the separation of church and state. And that decision opened the door for the transfer of federal funds and state and now even federal funds to religious institutions, and particularly to religious schools and to homeschoolers as well. Today there are 18 states with voucher programs. There's legislation before 9 others calling for the creation of voucher programs. And that figure 80% again, more than 80% of the current $12 billion that was, or last year's $12 billion, went to religious schools and homeschools, where there is no accountability for whether or not the children achieve even the most basic educational goals. We can see the impact here in North Carolina. According to a projection by North Carolina State University economists, the total cost of the state's voucher program as amended last year will have cost the state $9 billion by 2034. That's $1 billion. And last year, Only the recusal of Justice Amy Coney Barrett temporarily prevented the current Supreme Court from approving direct government support for religious charter schools. And the reason she recused herself, she had been part of the legal team that had mounted this challenge to the restriction of funds to this Oklahoma program. So naturally, she had to recuse herself. But there are two more cases coming along at the current time. She will almost certainly join in the next case, and I believe another barrier between church and state will be ended. While the majority of Americans are ambivalent about some aspects of church-state relationships, it's remarkable. Going back to the 1960s, polls consistently show that between 13 and 16% of Americans are in favor, technically, of ending separation of church and state, at least on a theoretical level. Most Americans believe in the separation of church and state. There are some ambivalent feelings about this, but by and large, that's at least a theoretical position. What is different is not a shift in public opinion, but the critical role that white evangelicals play in the current Republican Party, and the long-term success of both religious and economic conservatives in reshaping the composition of the United States Supreme Court. So, why did this happen? Again, I'm not stuck on 80%, but it keeps coming up. 80% of white Americans who identify themselves as evangelicals believe the United States should be a Christian state. And they voted for Donald Trump by approximately that same percentage in 2012, 2016, 2020, and 2024. Now, no one could ever accuse Donald Trump of being a religious zealot. I think that's fair, is that right? But he early recognized, didn't take a great genius to recognize this, that evangelicals were the cornerstone of his mega movement. Last week, President Trump received the draft report from his Religious Liberty Commission. It's a document designed to serve as a blueprint for administration policies and legislation. The report says on at least 4 occasions that the founders were Christians who intended that this be a Christian nation, and the separation of church and state is a myth. At the ceremony in which the president accepted the document and prayers for him, he complained that people are trying to steal the phrase, one nation under God. We all know that very well, and we will not let it happen, he said. Some of the other remarks were a little more extreme, in which the chair of the commission talked about the separation of church and state as a communist plot, part of a communist plot, which I didn't realize they were still around. I thought they were pretty much gone. At a recent White House prayer breakfast, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth insisted, quote, America was founded as a Christian nation and should remain a Christian nation. Hegseth, I should add, belongs to a network of churches called the Communion of Evangelical Churches. The leadership of that organization calls for replacing secular government with a nation built upon biblical law and Christian patriarchy. The head of it has specifically said on 2 occasions that women should not be allowed to vote, that men should vote for the household. I don't think that's going to happen, considering the women I know. Vice President J.D. Vance, a converted Catholic, has flirted with integralism, which is a form of right-wing Catholic theology that insists the state must be subordinate to the Catholic Church. But he is politically savvy enough to be more circumspect and a lot smarter, I think, than, I shouldn't say that, but I think a lot smarter than Pete Hegseth. while individuals of all faith were welcome to worship as they pleased, he said at a recent White House prayer breakfast, America is Christianity's creed. Very nice phrasing of it there. That early government policies, he said, and court decisions that separated the Christian faith from the state were a terrible mistake, and that's a quote. Now, all this is part of a political shift. As I said, as a coalition of economic and religious conservatives successfully created a Supreme Court intent upon reversing the Founding Fathers' call for that separation of church and state. And clearly, there's more at work here than theological beliefs. To me, at least, and I think to many of you, the danger is obvious. When a religion becomes an appendage of the state, its doctrine, leadership, and resources are co-opted to serve the state's political goals, to legitimize its power, whatever its policies, however contrary they may be to the professed goals of religious groups. The late English rabbi and author Jonathan Sacks, to me, eloquently summarized the consequence in the last book he wrote before he died just a few years ago. When religion seeks power, the result is disastrous, if not immediately, then ultimately. The result is tragic for the people, catastrophic for the state, and disastrous for religion. When religion, any religion, links itself to political power, it forfeits the respect of ordinary, decent people who once respected it and now fear and resent it. The result is the defeat of religion and a desecration of the holy. So, what can we learn from the story of the Founding Fathers and the creation of our nation? Obviously, we live in a quite different world than that of the founders of our nation. They were elitist, immersed in an honor culture in which a male leader's worth rested upon trustworthiness and honesty. It also rested on other less admirable traits. They were prisoners of their culture in many ways, racist, deeply patriarchal. But the best of their values remain unchanged after 250 years. We think of Thomas Jefferson as a political thinker and politician, which he certainly was. But even though he was not traditionally religious, he embraced a spiritual philosophy that emphasized compassion, sympathy, and kindness to others. As he said in a letter to a British reformer in 1814, "Nature hath implanted in our breasts a love of others, a sense of duty to them, a moral instinct. In short, that which prompts us irresistibly to feel their pain and to aid in their distress." And that moral sense, he argued, should always shape our public life. For the care of human life and happiness, and not their destruction, is the first and only object of good government. In the words of the Beatles, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of freedom, let it be. You may know where you're going now.
Thank you so much. Our closing hymn today is number 119. And it's Once to Every Soul and Nation. And before we sing it, after the closing words from Dan, our postlude will be Karen and Scott singing This Land Is Your Land, and they want you guys to stay and enjoy it too. So, number 119, Once to Every Soul and Nation, please stand as you're able.
As we leave this space, let us take with us the warmth of our community and the strength of our convictions. May we go forth to act with courage, live with compassion, and work for justice. And let our lives be the blessings the world awaits.
Is your land, this land is my land, California to the New York Islands, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. As I was walking that rhythm of highway, I saw above me that in the skyway, I saw below me that golden valley. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. I've roamed and rambled and followed my footsteps to the sparkling sands of her diamond deserts, and all around me a voice was sounding. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. Nobody living can ever stop me as I go walking